So, Chris, thanks so much for joining me. And obviously, having you on the album was incredible for track 7, I think it was. This is what democracy looks like. I guess just to give a little background for the folks who weren't in our conversations, I had given you basically like a bass, simple sheet music part, right? Like there's some whole notes and half notes and some quarter notes, but you took it so far beyond that with um, I don't know, like just so many different ideas that I think added to the moment. Cause I think most of our conversations, they were like about tone, right? About like the ideas of where I thought the music needed to go, but you added so much to it. So I'm curious if you can speak about, yeah, how did you get to some of the ideas that you got to when you were taking, maybe it was only, 2 or 3 half notes. Well, yeah, let's start there.
Well, first I listened to what you wrote, and it was amazing. I felt the music,
Mm,
differently than I really ever felt anything before. I felt I felt the seriousness of the piece. I felt the weight of the piece, and that's the first thing. Secondly, I felt also, what am I going to bring to it? What am I going to add to this piece? That's different. And I was really thinking about it, and then I realized, hey man, you're thinking about this way too much. Just add what you have already in your heart. That'd be plenty. That's just enough.
so did you spend a lot of time in advance or did you just listen to it once and just like take that gut feeling?
Well, in the beginning, I did play through. I listened first, just listen. That's all I did at first, and then I looked at the sheet music that you shared with me, and I played it just as it was.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I was just trying to really understand what you wanted by reading the sheet music, and I discovered, man, there's some really great melodies here.
Hmm.
So I wanted to keep the melody. I mean, you're the composer, so I was thinking like, man, I don't want to like totally like rewrite this guy's piece. This is what he wants,
Oh,
So
sure.
I was thinking like, how can I bring out the best of the written music and add myself to the music as well? Because what's the difference between me and any other trumpet player, you know?
Hmm.
So I was trying to add my heart to the music, bring out your beautiful melody as well, and complement what was already created in the recording.
Yeah, I feel like you did so much to, I mean, your language, your jazz language, your understanding of jazz theory, and your personality and experiences. I feel like they were totally coming across in a way that I hadn't imagined, which was so cool when I heard, some of these moments where all of a sudden there's like a amazing diminished scale upward in triplets that I had never imagined myself. And it totally opened my eyes to like, it was almost like synonyms in the sentence, right? You had just a different way of getting there, which was so cool. Um, and I think one of the other things that was weird about this piece, I imagine for someone recording the part, is that the rhythm was asynchronous with this like protest found sound. And so, there's a moment where there's drummers that are live in the streets of Portland and you're kind of moving around them. Was that really difficult for you to kind of hear the metronome? I know we worked with metronome and without, and you found like this sweet spot in between.
Yeah, that definitely was a challenge. It was driving me crazy. It really was. How did I work around that? So I had a very precise metronome part. I think I recorded the straight part,
Mm.
the written part, and then I turned the metronome off and I played around the recorded trumpet. So I overdubbed myself, and
Oh,
then I deleted the original trumpet recording, and so that's what you hear in the end product.
yeah.
Yeah, it
I
was a
remember
process.
yeah, I remember one of the first times we, met just like this over Zoom and I listened to it back. And I remember hearing, oh yeah, that must be so difficult because the metronome doesn't make
Yeah,
sense with the actual music. And I had never really
yeah,
thought about it when I was writing the sheet music down, right? Because I was just kind of, I don't know, I knew what it
Yeah.
sounded like, but then as a performer, yeah, it's so tricky because you're just handed like a I gave you like a stick figure and you had to turn it into
Right.
a really elaborate drawing.
Right. And so that's important too. I didn't understand how important it was to you that things line up. So that was the question that I had to ask. So
Oh, sure.
that's just an important side note, uh, for a musician recording, to check in with the composer to see how they imagine their piece being, and how much room are they going to give you to create. Do they want it exactly as it's written, or do you have room to embellish?
Yeah. I remember this, some of the other times that we met and we were listening back to some of the parts, and they were so different. It was shocking, but not in a bad way. Because a lot of the time, we've talked about this. I don't usually get the opportunity to have music that's improvisatory, and I think
Yeah.
as a composer, you have to learn to let go, and it's a good
Yeah.
thing, right? It's a good thing to let the performer be themselves.
Yeah.
And I wish I could do it more, but in this circumstance, we had a couple weeks to work together, so we had the time for it, which was awesome.
Yeah, and just the same, I prepared. I don't think I told you this, but maybe I did, but I had prepared like a more strict version as well,
Mm,
um, just in case, because at that point I didn't know what you wanted exactly. So I was just prepared. If he wants this, I got it, and if he's cool with the embellishment, I got that as well.
yeah, I
Yep.
think you absolutely nailed kind of the temperament of the piece, the seriousness, like you mentioned, and just like the overall, the musicality of it all. Because yeah, it was so much more than I originally had imagined. And we met through a mutual friend, conductor Kedrick Armstrong, and he had seen some of my like early sketches and heard the early mock-ups. And you were the number one person. He was like, "This is the guy who can do it, who has the language and the
Yeah.
understanding of music in its entirety to be able to pull this off." And I think, yeah, so thank you so much for making
Oh,
this
my
piece awesome.
my pleasure. And I was pleasantly surprised that I was recommended, because I remember working with Kedrick, and in that setting, I didn't really get to really improvise much at all in that
Oh,
setting.
sure.
So he got to hear, he heard something in my sound. Um, so I was very thankful for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much for being part of the album.
Oh, my pleasure. I think people are going to enjoy. It's really, really, really good writing. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks.